What do you say keeps you motivated through this experience?
Oh, I just love it. For most, it's such a game changer. As I like to say, nobody's immune to the effects of aging, and so it affects us all at different times. It's easy for people to understand how an impulse from our brain makes our finger move, but for our cells to talk to each other and for them to function most effectively, it takes hormones. It's hard to perform at your best. And I've seen so many people that I just don't feel right. I can't get off the couch. I don't want to go home and have fun with my kids. I want to take a nap. There's no way I'm starting a project at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And so I see that change. And that dramatic change in someone's outlook and enjoyment of life, that's what really fuels me.
Hey everyone, it's Tamara Thompson with Broadcast Your Authority, and I'm super excited for our next guest that just flew in from Aspen to Vegas today. So we're super grateful to have Dr. Julian Robert Gershon Jr., who is the esteemed founder of the Aspen Institute for Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. I know that some of the panelists definitely want to talk about this today, so I'm excited for this topic. With a vision to provide access to highly advanced and personalized care, Dr. Gershon has dedicated his career to going beyond the capabilities of conventional medicine. His extensive experience spans regenerative therapies, primary care, hormone optimization, age management, and regenerative aesthetics. Over the years, he's helped thousands of individuals who have sought out his specialized knowledge, and we're super grateful to have him here with us today. So welcome.
Thank you.
I love it. I know you got up early to fly in here, so we're super appreciative for you coming out from Aspen. I'd love to hear a little bit just about your backstory. Like, what inspired you to actually get into this field of work for your career?
Well, it's interesting. Being a sports medicine physician, I've always been interested in cutting edge and techniques, therapies, anything to enhance human performance. And so, I was a Division I team physician at the University of North Texas for 20 years. I was a doctor with USA Olympic Judo, with US Freestyle Ski Team. I've done a number of fun things. And, I just tried to do the best we could for our patients and athletes, aging athletes. Then one day, as I became an aging athlete at 50, 21 years ago, I realized maybe there was something going on. And a good friend of mine, Bob Goldman, had founded the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. And I specifically remember he and I were on the board of our academy, our national academy together. And I was at a meeting and like, well, where's Bob? And he's doing some anti-aging thing. And I thought, he's lost his mind. He's lost it. Well, that was 30 years ago. Fast forward a few years, and I learned, was hearing and learning more about regenerative medicine, anti-aging medicine specifically, started attending some conferences, and it made sense. I'm like, I'm 50, things feel different. And, I grew up ski racing and playing all sports in, high school and ski racing in college, and things were changing, and I didn't really like that. And so I decided to make it a study. I was patient one, decided to apply what I was learning to myself and found that it made a big difference in how I felt, how I approached life, my enjoyment of life, vitality, relationships. And I just naturally wanted to share that with my clients. And so I began to make it a study. I've gone to his academy meetings here in Las Vegas every December for the last 20 plus years. I'm leaving tomorrow to go to a hormone conference in San Antonio with one of my mentors who I met there and who teaches worldwide. And just because there's always something new that we're learning, new studies, new articles, try this, let's do that. This is working great. That didn't work. And so I just decided to make it a study, my passion on what I was experiencing and sharing that, with my clients.
What do you say keeps you motivated through this experience?
Oh, I just love it. I think it for most, it's such a game changer. As I like to say, nobody's immune to the effects of aging, and so it affects us all at different times. 20 years ago, my average client was late 40s to 50s, and now I have dozens of younger men and women in their 30s, and even with women decades before menopause, they can have loss of testosterone levels, progesterone, and growth hormone, a number of things that impact us very negatively. I understood early on that, for me to feel my best and for me to share that with my patients, I needed a better understanding of how all these systems interacted, so to speak, because we would address metabolic function, cellular function. And unfortunately, conventional medicine really ignores or doesn't pay enough attention to, I should say, the endocrine system, our hormone system, our wireless system in our body, so to speak. So it's easy for people to understand how an impulse from our brain makes our finger move, but for our cells to talk to each other and for them to function most effectively, it takes hormones. And so as those start to slowly decline, with age, starting at age 30, we lose 1% to 3% of our hormones a year. And so time can slip by 5 years, a decade, 2 decades. And so it's hard to perform at your best. And I've seen so many people that I just don't feel right. I can't get off the couch. I don't want to go home and have fun with my kids. I want to take a nap. There's no way I'm starting a project at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And so I see that change, and that dramatic change in someone's outlook and enjoyment of life, that's what really fuels me.
Let's talk a little bit, if you will, about what falls into the bucket of anti-aging therapies and regenerative medicine. What does that look like for the normal person?
Well, that's a great question because it's a very complex answer. I like to use the analogy that most people, I say, first, we have to bake the cake and then we'll ice it. Okay, well, what's that mean? Well, it means we need to balance hormones. We need to do an exhaustive panel of blood work. We look at all hormone levels. We do biologic age testing, DNA methylation testing, micronutrient testing. I mean, there's a host of things that we can do to have a very accurate picture of what is happening to you metabolically and hormonally, because that affects the outcome of every organ system that we have, from that afternoon or morning brain fog to strength or recovery time after exercise to just the sense of vitality. And so the basis, baking the cake, if you will, is balancing hormones. And as I said, particularly with women, years before menopause. Menopause is when estradiol drops. I call that falling off the cliff. When most women, when that happens, hot flashes, energy, lots of bad things happen, and it has very negative long-term health effects. From number one killer of women over 50 is a heart attack. Why? Because without estradiol, the arteries become stiff and rigid, and so that can be avoided. Love to see women early, pre-menopause, perimenopausal, to initiate therapy. And there's numerous studies that have shown the effectiveness and safety of that approach using natural bioidentical hormones. So we bake the cake first. And then, as you asked about regenerative medicine, as a sports medicine physician, that's what really got my attention, because I've got a lot of friends that are great surgeons, orthopedists, guys that are skilled at what they do. But not everybody wants to have a joint replacement, let's say, or there's just so much we can do for my knee pain. If it's not bad enough for surgery, then here's a handful of nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories or ice or blue-red light or different types of therapy that can help, but nothing is going to repair that. And so that's what really interested me. Interestingly, back 15 years ago, I owned some medical spas in Dallas. And so I used to do body contouring surgery, and I threw away liters of fat, not knowing that was gold or platinum. Those were stem cells. I threw away 100 cases before I realized, hey, wow, those are adipose-derived mesenchymal stem cells. They have incredible value from an orthopedic standpoint. And so that's when, 2011, that I did a fellowship in stem cell therapy through the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine, and did further training, learning how to isolate the stem cells from that adipose tissue, from that fat, in a pretty simple office procedure. And now we do that frequently. We can have those cells banked for future use at a deeply discounted rate once they've been banked, because they're yours and you can use them for the rest of your life. And so that really was the basis for me understanding what it would take to get started to help people in a different way. And I still send patients to surgery that, it's too late. We couldn't do that. But I don't even know, dozens, if not hundreds of stories of people that, my pain's a 9 or 10. My doctor says it's bone on bone. I need a joint replacement. But, I'm 45. That means this will probably last about 20 years, and I get to have that joint replaced again. That doesn't appeal to many younger patients at all, if anyone. And so, yes, there's a time and place for surgery, but there are things that we can do now that we didn't have available 10 years ago, 15 years ago, to help reduce pain, improve that person's quality of life, get them back skiing, horseback riding, whatever their passion is and what they enjoy, by being able to offer really some fairly simple procedures to be able to treat that condition.
Interesting. Anti-aging treatments they're very common these days. So what are some of the most popular ones that are out there?
Well, as I said, I think the foundation is hormone therapy. For younger men, it's either testosterone therapy. Actually, if I see someone in their 30s or 40s that, a testosterone level, and why these numbers are picked, but let's say 280 to 1100 is normal. Well, I saw a guy yesterday that I started on my program because his boss pushed him and made him come in, because I've been seeing him for 6 months, and he was an Olympic Greco-Roman wrestler, huge man. Wow. And he felt terrible 6 months ago. Now he's, tearing it up. And so he sent his assistant, and he's like, you got to go see this guy. And so, he's 42. His testosterone was 400. Is that normal? Yes. Is it optimal? Absolutely not. I say, well, it's 400. You're in the 40th percentile. Is that how you run your business? Well, no, of course not. I give it 100% or 110%. I'm like, okay, well, that's where we want your hormone levels to be, where you were in your 20s. Because if you think about it, we don't know too many sick 20-year-olds. In fact, I have a little checklist of symptoms, 20 items that I ask them every time I see someone. And the first time I'm like, all right, that's how you are today compared to when you were 25. Well, let me think. We can't remember. We took everything for granted. You felt great. You got up and did whatever you wanted to do. You didn't have aches and pains, and you gave it 100% life. And so that's the benchmark, restoring levels to optimal, to upper limits of normal. Not, I see some guys that maybe what I do we don't fit because they want to take some other anabolic steroids or extremely high dose testosterone. And I say that's not safe. No, we need to be at specific levels. I want not just your total, but your free testosterone to be in the 20s all the time. That's where you feel your best. His was 6.4. And I said, when you get to 20, call me. You're going to feel like your old self. And so, that's the foundation, really. Vitamins, nutrients, we do micronutrient testing. Everybody's deficient on vitamin D. Most need magnesium. I give DHEA to everyone. DHEA, which is a hormone that you can buy over the counter, but it has tremendous benefits from a longevity standpoint, antioxidant standpoint. There have been studies that showed a lower incidence of colon cancer in people that had higher DHEA levels. DHEA, metformin, and growth hormone were in the famous TRIM study. It's the word TRIM with two I's. You can Google it. And mice lived longer. So 15 or so years ago, that's what triggered the metformin craze. Everybody wants to take metformin. It's a diabetic drug. Why would I take that? Well, it helps reduce and mimic caloric restriction. And so when we're calorie I don't want to say deprived, but when we have a reduced caloric intake, it's less work for the body. Mice lived longer, and so that's been extrapolated to longevity. And so that now we have, semaglutide, tirzepatide, Ozempic, Mounjaro, other drugs that do very similar things and have even more longevity benefits than metformin. But so there's a number of different things that we want to address. As I said, we bake the cake and then we ice it with, a personalized plan for vitamin supplementation, obviously making sure that people are on a good, healthy diet. We talk about trying to mimic and do things that we've seen in the blue zones around the world where, they're just healthier, happier for a lot longer because of their lifestyle, diet modifications, always being active. And so, it's just fascinating what we have available.
What is autologous stem therapy and how does it differ from other type of stem therapy treatment?
Well, autologous stem cell means your stem cells. So there's autologous, which is legal in the U.S., and that means using your either bone marrow-derived stem cells or adipose fat-derived stem cells. Most people are willing to, it's funny, they're willing to donate a little fat. It's like, hey, how about me? Sure. And, it's certainly much less painful than a bone marrow biopsy or procedure. And there's over 500 times more stem cells in adipose-derived MSCs or mesenchymal stem cells than in bone marrow. And bone marrow turns over faster. And so the cells are closer to your chronologic age when harvested versus the adipose-derived stem cells, just in a general rule, maybe half of your chronologic age. And so when we harvest those cells and use some very specific procedures to isolate them. It takes about an hour in the office. The harvesting, we only need a couple ounces, 2 or 3 ounces of fat to produce enough stem cells to treat 2 or 3 areas in a body. And then we can send fat onto banking institutions that we use that are reputable, that have been around for a number of years, and then have them available in higher quantities, culture expanded, grown your own cells in the tens of millions of cells at, a very short notice. And so autologous cells, yours, versus allogenic, meaning someone else's, is a very hot topic. Umbilical cord blood cells have been around. The FDA has been really at wit's end trying to figure out how to regulate this industry so that there are quality products that are safe to use. When we use your autologous cells, we know they're yours. It's not possible to have an adverse reaction to your own stem cells. It's very low when it comes to allogenic or umbilical cord blood cells, different exosome products, but nonetheless, the safest and currently legal application of those is in using your own. There are specific instances with aesthetics, with treatment for hair loss, that other products are authorized to be used, and it's a ever-changing landscape. And so I won't get into the legal issues with it.
It's like a long process.
It is for sure the future of medicine, without question.
That's crazy. That's a lot to take in on that process on that part. What would you say? What should patients actually consider before opting into these treatments on that side?
With stem cell therapy? Yeah. Well, it's not easy, I think, to necessarily search out someone that's an expert, that has certification and has experience in using different products. So, starting that process to see, is this an alternative to surgery? Are we talking about, I'll tell you a story. The first patient I ever did in January of 2012, I actually saw her 2 weeks ago because she's still an anti-aging or a hormone client, but she came to see me. She lived in rural Colorado, was very active, liked to ride horses and liked to do ballet. And she was in her late 60s, was told, you need both knees replaced. That was in 2012. She was my first patient, and God bless her. She's still with us and is happy. We did a procedure, and within 6 months, she was pain-free. And she has still never had her knees replaced. And she was advised by an orthopedist that I know well, a friend of mine, that, hey, this is what I can do for you. They're there to help. It's just that what I do is not part of their repertoire. And so I think about 5 years ago, she said, my knees are starting to ache a little bit. Can we do this again? I said, well, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. I said, how bad is it? Well, I don't know, 2 maybe, 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. Not bad, nothing like before, but I want to do it again. She's like, if every 7 years I have to come back and see you, fine. I'm not having a knee replacement. I'm like, okay, great. And so, it's super rewarding. And I think for the individual that's interested, you just have to be your own best agent, really, and search out the information. We have different academies. The Cell Surgical Network, which I'm part of, has physician directories. American Academy of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine for hormones and stem cell related treatments. AMMG, American Medical Group, who trains primarily just hormone related physicians, MDs and DOs that do what I do. So there's resources out there that certainly can be found.
It must be extremely humbling just going through all the experience that you've done and helping all these individuals. What's one of your favorite client stories, if you're able to share with us, biggest success stories?
And there's a lot.
There's probably a lot.
You can
narrow
really,
it down
that's what drives me. I mean, it's just really,
you can tell how passionate you are.
Rewarding. Peggy, my patient number one, I love her. She comes in every 4 months for hormone pellet therapy now. But I saw a young guy in his early 30s that comes to mind that owned a cannabis shop in Aspen. It's everywhere in Colorado. But he had been told by a surgeon that he needed a partial knee replacement. And I don't remember, he's 32 or 33. And behind his kneecap or patella, the back of it was denuded or raw. The cartilage was rubbed off, and also on the end of his thigh bone or femur. And so those surfaces, he was a snowboarder, like competitive snowboarder. He couldn't snowboard. It hurt to walk around, to do anything. His pain levels like an 8 to 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. And I treated him with his own adipose-derived autologous stem cells. And, by 90 days, he was significantly better. At 6 months, he had no pain. I've seen his mother, his wife, everyone he knew. And this has been about 5 years now. He still has no pain and didn't have to have, a joint replacement or even a partial replacement in 30, means by 50, you're going to have another one. And so that wasn't something he wanted to do. He wanted to try something else. I saw a young man from the Breckenridge area in my Denver office for several years ago that was I think he was 25 or 6, young guy, that they wanted to do an ankle fusion on because he was a snowboarder. And, if you've ever been near a snowboard park or watched the X Games and seen them, the height that they get, and that is rock hard, solid ice wall that they are jamming their feet on and unfortunately falling on sometimes. He couldn't really walk without crutches. Tried cortisone injections, anti-inflammatories, other things, and the recommendation was to fuse the ankle. And he was referred to me by, a friend of a friend, by someone, and we did an injection. And again, by 90 days, certainly at 6 months, he was pain-free. I've never seen him since. I mean, he did great. And he, as far as I know, still hasn't had, a fusion. Having the ankle fused means you will never be able to have a normal gait, walk, and you certainly will never run. And so it was a very daunting, outlook for him, and not something that he was looking forward to. So it's, that feels great. It's really exciting to be part of that.
I love that. I think that, I think a lot of people just need to hear about these opportunities. I think a lot of people just don't realize that there is these type of opportunities, and you have a lot of success stories behind you, which is incredible. And I love that you're so passionate about what you do. For those that are listening and watching this show and may be interested in learning more about, stem cell therapy or other things in regenerative medicine, could you share with the audience a little bit about how they can connect with you?
Sure. Well, you can go to our website, which is aspen-regenerativemedicine.com. I have a number of videos there. There's certainly links to be able to call us, ask us questions, email. There are links to our YouTube channel where I cover a number of topics in our podcast, Beyond the Fountain of Youth. And my book is coming out in the next few weeks. And so you'll be able to order that there and on Amazon. And if we can't help you, we can try to help you find someone that can help solve your problems. So be happy to have you reach out to us.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gershon, for joining us today. I really appreciate you traveling in. And those of you that are watching, check out all of the stuff that he was talking about. And yes, go subscribe to Beyond the Fountain of Youth podcast that he has. And we'll have all the links and everything that he's talking about in the description below. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, ring the bell, leave a review, and we'll see you in the next episode.